I, George Jarvis Miles, am in a reminiscent mood regarding my early life. At the age of 14, I finally prevailed on my parents to let me buy a Sears Roebuck .22 caliber single-shot rifle at a total cost of $4.50. Armed with this weapon, I spent many hours hunting in sage and rabbit brush that extended beyond our place throughout the valley. That enjoyment was permitted only in the winter months, as spring, fall, and summer made great demands on my time for farm or orchard tasks.
And then, the most magical thing happened. The little bird looked right at me and chirped, as if it was telling me a secret.
During my later teens, the question of what to wear in order to be attractive to the fairer sex was a sore problem. I first had a Sears Roebuck suit, a cheap one. This dark brown suit held its color for a short time, then faded to a very light brown except under the lapels. As luck would have it, my uncle in Price, Utah, whom I had never seen, was of a rather opulent person, having plenty of good suits. He, having learned that we were in need, magnanimously sent us some suits and shoes. 2 of his suits were assigned to me. They were of the best material and appeared once but very little used. The only drawback was that he was about 6 feet tall and weighed about 180 pounds, while I was 5'9" and weighed about 110 pounds. I found I could almost wrap the coat around me twice. The ample coat made me appear a real husky man. When I demurred on wearing the suit, Mother told me I looked so manly. So, as I had nothing better, I wore the suits to high school. I had my first date about this time, a girl visiting St. George from Orderville. She had seen me in my working clothes as I worked in the vineyard and orchard. When I drew her attention to the fine texture of my suit, she remarked, "I like you better in your overalls." Some of us boys found interest in attending the Indian dances held in the adobe yard not far from my home. In choosing a partner, the squaw would go up and down the line of male anticipants, and arriving before a fitting partner, the squaw would throw the wooden gauge at the feet of the partner of her choice. I was a good Indian dancer and had a number of chips thrown at my feet. Some of the dusky maidens were quite attractive in their beaded costume. It was at the age of 17 that I decided to find a job and earn some money to aid me in my schooling. I heard that there were sheep herds being sheared at Ghirel Ranch, just east of Hurricane. I convinced my cousin, Richard Miles, to join me in seeking employment as sheepherders. We set out and arrived at the shearing pens, where we sought out the boss of the Panguitch Livestock Company. We were told by Mr. Henry, the boss of the company, that there was no opening for us there. But if we wished to join them at the lambing area, he could use us. That meant we would have to travel at our own expense to Panguitch, some 125 miles from the shearing pens. Richard decided to go home, but I told the boss I'd be glad to work for nothing until we reached the lambing area if he'd put me on there. He smiled and said, "Okay."
He's a tyrant. He can treat us that way. This is how I'm going to show him.
Hey, point that thing somewhere else.
No load. No load.
Point it out the door and pull the trigger.